this episode, we are full on spoilers for both the books and the show. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hi, I'm Mitch.
I'm Max.
I'm Roof Mistress Leigh-A.
And I'm the Geeky Hippie. Welcome back to What the Adaptation, a YouTube show that reviews adaptations from one format to another. This week, we are finishing season 4 of The Expanse, based on the novel Cibola Burn, and the episode is titled Cibola Burn. What did everybody think about this episode?
Top notch.
Top notch. Before we go any further, we've got our friend Over's Ears back, as always, for The Expanse. And finally, we've got Leigh-A on tonight. We've been trying to get her back. It's been a bit hectic trying to get that on, but
yeah,
you're here. It's good to see you.
I'm so happy to be back and to talk about The Expanse.
It's been, what, since season 3, or was it since Pride and Prejudice?
Pride and Prejudice.
That was since then. Wow, it's been a while. So everybody likes this episode?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, just the worst.
Yeah,
horrible.
I think it might be my favorite of the season. Yeah, by far. Just because it's got less Murtry than most episodes in this season and less Illis than most episodes of this season. And that's the two things that I didn't care for on this season. I mean, remember, this is my least favorite season of the show. My least favorite book in the series. Now, that doesn't mean I dislike it by any means. It's just, I mean, something has to be at the bottom of the list. And it happens to hit it for both.
Yeah. Well, it's the season is, I mean, next season, I know some people don't like because everyone's split up. But I thought this season in general is pretty good. I don't have a bad season. Yeah. The Expanse. I'm a stan. What can I say?
Hey, don't blame me. It's a great show. Great book series, great TV series.
Yeah.
It's in my top 20.
I don't know if it's the Illis plotline is definitely on. It might not be my favorite book, but I do like it a lot because I like the concept of the first time really exploring a new world, like getting out there, all the scientific, the concepts of colonization of a new planet versus the scientific exploration of it. And if anybody's read Kim Robinson's Blue
Mars trilogy,
the Mars trilogy, she does, especially in the first book, really goes into a lot of that is like the debate between the characters as they're colonizing Mars for the first time, the first 100 people to get there. The conversation about, like, okay, are we scientists or are we colonizers, and what is our purpose? And in that first group does have a huge back and forth about what they should be doing as they're like putting their footprints on this planet. Oh, hello, little fluffy poof. I feel like a lot of these science fiction books, like Expanse, as you have the, like, we are the first people to put our footprint on a planet, there's typically that discussion, and I found it fascinating.
Personally, I am a big fan of that subgenre of science fiction, planetary colonization.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I think because I've liked so many others that I enjoyed more in that genre, that subgenre, I should say, than how I feel about this particular example of it. At least my problem with this book and this season is it's Illis itself. It's everything on Illis. I love everything in orbit. everything in orbit around Ilus and everything on the show back on Mars and Earth, I love. And in the belt, it's just I hate what happens on Ilus. I don't hate it. It just
the protomolecule related stuff or the
it's all the stuff, all the bad shit that happens down there, and then also the fact that it's such a bleak, gray,
that's what
depressing
makes it
landscape.
That's what makes it great, though. It's depressing. The characters are constantly under siege. You've got multiple things. I mean, for goodness sakes, you got slugs. You got what is it? Skippy.
The tsunami.
Yeah, Skippy. You got
Skippy.
The tsunami, the earthquake. The blast of air. I mean, everything.
And then an armed invasion force.
Yeah, I mean, everything is against them, and they come through. And they come through in a very realistic manner. I mean, it's not like
I mean, it's great, but it's great. It's just it's not my favorite in the series. I mean, I prefer the horrible, dreary, bleak shit that happens in book 5 over the horrible, bleak shit that happens on Ilus.
And there is that. Yeah.
Yeah, I enjoy season 5 and book 5 a lot more than I do. And I don't know. Like I said, I think it's because I've seen Boom, 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 Boom.
Book 5 is where everybody's separated.
Oh, yeah, no. That makes me sad.
Yes.
The next book.
Yeah. I've actually was reading, a military sci-fi book that's partway into the colonization genre. And, and it's a one I'm rereading from like 20 years ago. It's the Cobra series by Timothy Zahn. And I was actually watching this season of The Expanse the first time made me think of that book series. Mm-hmm. And it's been a while, and I ended up tracking it down because it's been a while since I read it. And, I've been in that habit lately of rereading stuff from a while ago. Reading something in this genre was triggered kind of by, recently, because I've been reading Cibola Burn ceaselessly for the last 2 months.
For me, first time I watched a series years ago, this season wasn't my favorite. On a rewatch, I like it a lot more. Seeing Holden go through not such a great time, kind of like Miller had his I'm not having a good day with a not a good day upon not a good day, like on the asteroid.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Was fantastic. And we also got to see Miller back for a little while. And he didn't have a good day either.
No.
So I got to enjoy that.
But Miller did deliver in the end yet again.
Oh. And the sad part about this episode is Miller's absolutely 100% dead, never coming back.
Max can rejoice.
No. So sad.
No, he served his purpose, and
doors and corners.
Right.
Yeah. Miller is at rest. Miller is at rest finally.
All right.
So, more so than any other dead, in the series, I would think, because nobody's been brought back as much as him.
Mm-hmm.
Against his will. 100% against his will.
113 times a second. For how long? 2-3 years?
Mm-hmm.
So where do we start, Max?
Well, our first question of the night is, what was changed from the source material? Did they impact your enjoyment from this episode?
Well, a lot was changed, but none of it impacted negatively. That's for sure. I actually think it's in some ways an improvement. We get all the Bobby stuff, which you'll find out later is my favorite stuff in the episode.
Yeah. Well, and actually the only overlap between the book and, there are two things that overlap, but as far as the whole Ilus timeline goes, The only overlap was Holden saying goodbye to Miller. That was pretty much it, and then Amos
and Murtry
saying hello to Murtry there, but
yeah,
which was amazing.
And then the final chapter of the book was an Avasarala chapter, which was the only chapter off or outside of the Illis timeline. And I mean, everything's a fait accompli at that point. She's already out.
Yeah.
She's on Mars for some reason. I didn't get from the chapter what it was all about.
Recruiting Bobby.
Yeah. I mean, that's, I mean, it was kind of, I mean, it kind of leads you to the next book, but there wasn't that much there. I thought what they did.
That chapter is where the entire idea of the death of Mars comes from.
Yeah. And
in the book, which is done differently on the show.
Yeah. And it overlaps a little bit there with the final scenes from of Earth in our show. So, it's I thought the show version was so much more dynamic and such. You have that magnificent final note from Avasarala to Gao. Very nicely done. Whoever wrote that, I think, has worked for some presidents in the past.
And I just feel like Gao, as soon as she hits play, is going to hit stop and delete.
Or listen to it and then just like, yes, like, exactly. Listen to it.
I don't know. I don't really have a negative opinion of Nancy Gao. And in a lot of ways, I actually kind of agree with Nancy when it comes to the colonization, opening the doors for colonization.
Okay there?
You all right, Nick?
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, I don't disagree with Nancy Gao. I don't see her in a negative light. That's true.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to look at the season overall, I think the storytelling for the whole book was done so much better in the series as opposed to the book.
Yeah.
They mashed it up differently. So, like, the chronology in the books is very different.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get the short stories where we get where Bobby's sort of coming from this part of the short stories, and then also what happened in the book. Since this is the question, like, what's different in the books? They've pulled the first part of the next books, that whole Philip and Nari's incursion. So that is now part of Bobby's story, and Bobby is now a player in, or a victim, maybe. I don't like. She's somebody who has been negatively impacted by this Philip Inaro's pseudo terrorist attack, as he's creating this diversion to steal all of these things that have a major impact in the future.
Was that Philip then in the elevator?
That was Philip in the elevator.
Okay. See, I tried watching. I never did pause it fast enough, and it just never bothered. But then that means there's an awful lot of time that passes in this episode, because Philip's then way out with his dad where the Tynan catches them.
Yeah, well, at the end of the episode, when Ashburn is going to do his thing, like, you see it's like almost a shimmer over the rocks, and that's them putting the stealth technology.
Yep.
So, but what Philip is doing is stealing stuff for what happens, and again, we are full spoilers, right? So, So, stealing the stuff for Durante to go do his thing. So like it's this two-pronged attack that has these multiple purposes, and it's like Durante, being the fucking
And
genius
so-
he is, like uses Inaros, who
So
is
probably the reason why we have Philip on Mars at this point then is to recreate where was it they did the raid in book 5 at the beginning of book 5 where they Philip ran that raid to steal the stealth tech from a Martian
that's
depot.
what this is.
Yeah, I thought
That's a recreation of that.
Was that on Palace? Or
No, it was on Mars proper. Like, and they blew an entire dome.
Yeah.
oh, somehow I thought it was in,
it was a major.
I think it was on one of the moons.
Proper, and it was considered a major terrorist attack.
Okay.
Now I'm curious.
Not that we're. I was gonna say, don't we get something like that in next season too?
That's what we get next season. Yeah.
Yeah, like in a TV show too, like another thing like
Yeah,
that.
That's the testing.
We never
at
get
the beginning
the
of
boy
the season. They do a testing of the defense system, if I remember correctly, is what they do at the beginning of season 5.
the defense system.
Earth, yeah, the belt. Marco's people do a test of Earth's defense system. Their detection system.
Oh yeah, they start lobbing a bunch of.
Well, no, they already did that. In fact, Marcos even mentions it in this.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, with the ship that Officer Ola gets taken out of the debate, and she has to decide whether to. That was his test to get an idea of where the asteroid
could go.
Yeah, I meant more about the Martian dome. I thought there was something like that in season 5.
Well, there's a graphic at the end of like where all the rocks are going to hit as Earth is going through its orbit and its trajectory.
Yeah.
I thought there was something though in season 5 with another Martian dome.
I think so. There is, and I'm trying to remember what they steal from there because it's in the book too. Because Philip ends up meeting somebody from there at a later date.
They keep stealing things. Well, because the especially with the ring gates being open, the Martian economy collapses. So people just keep stealing things. So there's a constant theft. And this is where in both the books and the show that Alex goes back to start chit-chatting to try to figure out what's being stolen. Because Bobby is also like in the books she's undercover. I can't remember if she does it in the show. Like she goes undercover and like she needs help.
Actually, I was going to bring this up this season that we just had. Bobby was undercover with a guy named what was it? Oh, I forgot what his name was. But what did you think of them actually introducing a personal issue like that for Bobby when it's not even mentioned in the books?
What do you mean?
Well, she has a relationship.
Oh, that guy that her boy.
Oh, that guy! Like a couple episodes ago.
Well, you were saying under the covers, so that brought it to mind.
Oh, gotcha.
I meant undercover, but not under the cover. Yeah, but I mean, let a girl get some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think it added anything? I mean, it made Bobby a little more three-dimensional, perhaps.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It gave her more to do. And I liked, even outside the romance part of it, of that relationship, I do think it did a lot to help develop what was help to show and showcase what was going on with Mars.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Bobby does have needs too.
Yeah.
I volunteer for tribute.
I do too.
I'll just say death by snoo snoo. That does happen to you, Glenn.
Do you prefer book Bobby or TV show Bobby?
Yes.
That.
I agree.
Expected that.
I agree.
I mean,
I love that part in the book where Holden's sitting there talking to her, and he's like, Mate with it, flee from it. Mate with it, flee from it. You know, his brain's just going back and forth, and I'm like, that's just funny.
Mm.
That was funny. I gotta move this so I'm not bumping it. There we go.
One thing that they did in both book and show was Elvie's description of having gone through the evil eye, and I probably need to go back to the book because I rewatched the show again this afternoon just to bone up on things. But I think the descriptions between, I think in the book she didn't tell Holden. I think it was just what she sensed.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I think it's very close to what she told Holden in the show.
And it's still
I like how
fucking confusing.
I like how it's described on this show, you know, in the book as the eye of an angry god.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just like, that's just the showrunners though, or on set that they called it the Eye of Sauron, you know, or at least the director. I was listening to a podcast today, and they called it the Eye of Sauron. I'm like, that works too, but Eye of an angry god is just like, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I love the design of that thing.
Yeah.
I really do.
Looks so good.
It's very well done.
Which I think brings us to the production question. What did you guys think of the production side of this episode?
Well, I thought we were going to talk favorite scenes.
Isn't that books? Isn't that 3? Book 2 is
scenes is second. Production is 3.
My bad. Okay, my bad. I was just segueing because we were there.
We can go scenes 3 if you want.
You got really excited.
I think he has something he wants to do later, so he's trying to move through this.
No, I don't have any plans for tonight, you know, except hanging out here talking with people. But no, I can't get over it. I love the shot of Valles Marineris, you know, and the sun rising. The really small sun.
I thought your favorite scene was this one.
Oh, hell no. No, man. You saw my post in the chat. As he's climbing out, I'm sitting here going like this, watching it. And I know it's all CG and just a set. And I'm just like, I don't deal well with heights. And that's a really, really high height.
And I'm, you know, when we see that scene where Holden's like looking downward, seeing how absolute covered the world is in all the machinery.
Mm-hmm.
They usually basically mine the world.
Yeah, when you see it after everything's been stripped away.
Yeah, it looks so cool. That really is a great shot. I've always liked it.
And it's like, it's not really that habitable, but it is, I guess. Like, you're not going to have much agriculture out there.
No.
Not after that tsunami wiped it all out.
Right.
Now, I've got a few favorites here. I'm sorry, Leigh-A, you were going to say?
Oh, no, go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. We get one of my favorite things of all times, and we haven't seen it for quite a few episodes. We got some Amos eyes. That's that when Murtry hits him, and Amos gets that look in his eyes, and he just turns around and thank you. And I just call him Amos eyes because he's done it a few times in the past, and it's
like the like, oh, you just gave me permission, and I'm gonna go buck wild crazy.
Yep, exactly.
They could have ended the episode there and it'd been fine.
No,
you got to give props to Murtry though, because Bern Gorman is not a big guy, and next to Wes Chatham, he's kind of a pipsqueak, and I know I shouldn't talk because I am pretty small myself, except for my belly. But you know, it just somebody Bern Gorman size standing up to somebody Wes Chatham size. That's brave.
Yeah, but he did exactly what he was
supposed to. He got a lot of skill.
He's got like, I know you guys talked about this last week about how Murtry was always confident that he had backup and whatever. So, but he was just so confident that he was always going to be right. And then, and he's just got this bravado about him, I guess what it's called.
Mhm.
And like he really, really, really thinks he's just going to survive regardless. So even when he is captured or whatever, like he has just convinced himself that he is going to survive. So, and this is where he gets the like gumption to punch Amos in the face.
Mhm.
Even though Amos has told him, please give me an excuse.
I do wish we got to know for sure Murtry's fate once they got back to Earth. It's never mentioned. Murtry's never even hinted at after this book. You know, and I just want to know if Holden got his way.
Well, it's
If
like
Murtry's down there with
always
Jules
gets his
Pierre.
way. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, it's like one of the Rocky movie endings. I can't remember which one it is. You never do find out who wins at the end.
I don't know. I've never seen. Well, no, I can't say I've never seen a Rocky movie. I've seen Rocky 4, and that's it.
It's either the second or
and that
third
was when
one.
it came out when I was a kid.
Well, we do have one other instance where we don't know exactly what happened, and that's when what's his name? Mao. You know, he was captured.
Oh,
Chairman Mao.
well,
Yeah.
we do get an understanding via his daughter.
Yeah, we do know he's in prison.
Yeah, but we don't see it happen or anything like that. It's just
Right.
understood.
I
think
hope that Adolphus is next in the cell next to Jules Pierre.
Mm.
I think the two
He's
should
probably
be.
Well, I guess they would be because it's not like you've got the like it's jail for jail. So it's not jail for like nice people versus jail for plebs.
Mhm.
Right.
And Holden even mentions that, putting him into the cell next to Mao. So in the books. Another one of my favorites is on Mars, Bobby shootout with the
good set piece,
the Belters, and then the following collapse of the dome and the construction equipment. That's real good. I love the effects. You know, the bullets clanging against the side of that vehicle that she's hiding behind, and the randomness in which they come in, which is, you know, what they teach you to do. You don't, you know, you always want to keep it random so whoever's hiding back there doesn't know when they can come out. So I just thought that whole sequence was really, really nicely done.
Yeah, I did too. I was a little disappointed with Bobby. She's an experienced gunnery sergeant Marine. She should be calm and collected enough in combat, I would think, with her experience, to be aware when some punk ass bitch belters yell, "We left a gift or present for you, bitch," to like not run out and look and then wait 10 seconds before, oh, bomb. You know, I knew before she even went around the corner of that vehicle, there's a bomb there. The moment those guys said, "Left a gift for you, bitch," I'm like, bomb, 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 Bobby, don't go around that corner, bomb. She went around that corner.
Well, this is where
instead of going out the door,
show diverges from reality. So where book Bobby would have never done that.
Right. And that's where my doors and corner mention is in my notes, by the way. Doors and corners. I couldn't help it.
Oh, Lord, on my fucking boots.
I really enjoyed the set piece, you know, that shootout, you know, the fight scene. But my personal favorite scene in this, I mean, I love everything Bobby in this episode, actually this season. But I really liked that quiet little scene between Bobby and Leigh-A at the club, you know, talking about why she doesn't want to do this. And just the interactions she has with Leigh-A in this episode is so divergent from what we had when we met Leigh-A at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
It's, you know, and it plays into themes later. But I really enjoy it. I enjoy Leigh-A being included from Gods of Risk, even though it's a very completely different scenario than Gods of Risk. Right. You know, she's like the one character carried over from that, because I don't think Isai is in Gods of Risk, or at least not by the name
No,
East Side?
no.
I don't remember who Leigh worked for or was with in that book.
It was a criminal act, actually, rather than a
Yeah.
policeman running a scam on the side. But yeah,
Okay. But yeah, I really enjoyed Leigh and Bobby's stuff in this episode.
Yeah, so good. Well, and I agree, like that. The scenery in that, and just all the graphics, and as things are like just coming down, it's just the shootout, the collapse, the bombing, and then as you see Philip and Naras in that elevator, just it's a very quick glance as Bobby is doing other things. Um, and it is like and it ties the next book back into what's going on now and saying like this is the Philip and Naras attack that he did at the beginning of the next book.
Right.
Excuse me. That was
a lot of time must have passed between all that because they've even got a different ship. It seems like when Naros drops that one rock, or at least a whole new crew because we got whacked.
Well, the end of this episode is when they're dropping the rock, like they're just launching the first rock, which is
so
going
there had
to
to have
take
been a lot
while.
of time.
Yeah, like and it's knowing that it's going to take a while. So that's the whole thing. Is like this is a pre-planned, like this is going to take months,
and it's a
insert maybe years.
Evil, nasty, but brilliant plan.
So speaking of that ship, is one of my scenes I have on here is where Ashford breaks in, and he's floating through, and exactly.
Oh my gosh, that's such a good.
Yep.
I knew it had to be Ashford too. You knew it had to be the old man who did that.
As I was watching that, I was just like, okay, so how would you write the D&D mechanics of like pushing off and floating through and just starting to shoot people?
Yes. And then Ashford's final scene.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Bring that up.
Yeah.
That is Ashford to a T.
Show Ashford.
Yes.
Very different from book Ashford. I love
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
it helps.
I had to bring those two scenes up because I wasn't sure if it was going to get like forgotten. So.
Oh no, I have them on my list.
Oh, it's on my list too.
Yep. And the backlit hair as he's floating in space. Just that white corona around him is just, it's almost Halo-like. But
well, and just like the crystallization of his face
and his eyes,
and it just keeps going, like, and he keeps. It's deterioration is the wrong word, but
well, it's almost like instant dehydration.
Yeah.
All the blood vessels in his eyes burst.
Yeah.
Well, and the skin puckers, and so it's like a weird mummification almost. It's not mummification, but
now
my only
in
complaint is that it actually happens rather fast.
Yeah.
He passes out rather quickly, I think, but
it should be within like 90 seconds.
Yeah, you can last. They think you can last up to a minute or so in vacuum before dying,
unless he's purposely trying to.
Yeah, I mean, he could have just. Well, he was singing out as he went out, but.
Well, he was singing, so like he was.
Yeah,
just
maybe that's why he passed out so quickly.
But Mitch, you're saying something?
That makes sense.
Yeah, in the 4 seasons that we've had so far, this was the first instance where we've actually seen someone die, by being spaced. And it's such a great, Easter egg for what's going to happen next season.
Don't they show
And-
all those belters getting spaced in book 2 when or those
I
inners
mean-
getting spaced by the belters?
But it's
Yeah.
not
When Prax almost
explicit.
went out the out.
Yeah, but you don't get a close up of it. You see them. Well, actually, no, you do see
The
that
old
one
man and the
woman.
child, like the father and the child.
The lady floating by.
Yeah, she's struggling to breathe. Well, there's nothing there. Yeah, so there was another instance of this. Yeah.
I'd forgotten about it for a bit too.
Well, and
though, so.
there's also the father and the child that they focus on for the whole Anderson. Not the Anderson does the
Oh yeah, the Anderson Station.
Anderson Station. Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So we have
Back
had a
in
few
season
examples.
1.
Yeah.
That was season
But
1.
it's-
Yeah.
But I do like I think this was. I feel like this one was much more explicit.
Well,
So
it was,
whereas like they were just space and it was like
Mm-hmm.
and then you like
And-
like you're screaming and all of a sudden you just like become a model in a store window or something.
yeah,
Um,
mannequin. Yeah.
Thank you, mannequin.
Yeah.
Whereas this one was like he's singing and then like it's all close up on his face and you see the difference in his skin and like how his eyes blacken and like it was much. I feel like this one was much more visceral. So it wasn't just like, oh, I frost over and I've been spaced and all of a sudden I don't move and I obviously can't breathe and
I just can't get over thinking about how much shit is now flying around and floating around in the solar system at this, at this far into the future, think of how many people have been spaced and their bodies are still floating there. Think of all those PDC rounds that have ever been fired that did not hit their target. They're still flying at the exact same speed.
but they're literally going out of the like solar system. So
Depending, yeah,
those things
eventually,
those rounds are going aggressively out of the solar system. If somebody has been spaced, that is debris that is just like casually floating around. So
everything
that
is still
is
moving.
stuff that is more of a concern for people trying to transport themselves from
Right.
point A
The
to
good
point
news is spaceships don't have windshields.
Right. Yeah.
There you go. It's funny. I was watching.
So you wouldn't know that you ran into Thor.
Exactly.
Sorry.
I was watching a video yesterday talking about the Epstein engine
Ooh.
and
The
how
Epstein
long
drive, yep.
how long it takes to get from one place to another in the solar system.
Mm-hmm.
The longest distance between any two planets would be is if Uranus and Neptune were on opposite sides, and you had to fly from one to the other, accelerate, halfway, decelerate the other half. It would only take 40 days.
Yeah.
It's 3 days from Earth to Mars on the close trajectory.
From an Epstein.
Even
from
the
an
Epstein drive doesn't run constantly, though.
Yeah.
Okay.
But they still go on the float.
From the hypothetical Epstein drive.
Yeah,
Right.
but you only go on the float long enough to flip around and then decelerate.
Mm-hmm.
If you were to get,
Under those-
I don't remember the exact speed.
Well, the
you would end up
the only reason they use anything is to get 1/3 gravity.
If you were to get into a spaceship and start flying out of the solar system at 1 gravity acceleration that never stopped, you would, by the end of your subjective lifetime, have reached the edge of the observable universe. You would see beyond it, of course, but by that time, now that's billions of years after Earth is destroyed, after you left, but your subjective lifetime, because of time dilation as you approach the speed of light, you would still be alive by the time you hit that distance, billions and billions of years later, even though you would never have hit the speed of light.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
the point-
1G of acceleration is incredible amount of acceleration to have constant.
Oh yeah. But the point I wanted to make is one of the other things they said was in traveling these distances, going through the asteroid belt, the chance of hitting anything in the asteroid belt is still 1 in many billions.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, there's a lot of stuff in the asteroid belt, but space is incredibly huge.
Well, and there
It
are
doesn't look like
there are
it
also
doesn't look like
known
Empire Strikes Back.
places where like there are known asteroid belts.
Yeah.
So which is where you would slow down and then like mind your P's and Q's. So like you're not just
Asteroid
like
belt doesn't
pass through.
Asteroid belt doesn't look anything like the asteroid storm in Swarm in Empire Strikes Back. You can't. You don't see.
Yeah.
Even if it was fully lit up, you probably the odds are on any given asteroid in the belt, you would not be able to, with your naked eye, see another asteroid.
You could also just swerve around it very quickly. Like be like, all right, so
Well,
I'm not gonna go onto the massive highway traffic. I'm going to take this country road and go a little bit around it and then detour back onto where I was going.
See, that's the thing about flying in space. You really don't have to worry about drunk driving.
Yeah. Well, the nice thing is
the odds are you're not going to hit anything, no matter how much you swerve.
Yeah. And if you're worried about it, then just angle yourself above the ecliptic and then angle yourself back down as you go over the asteroid belt.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
easy.
even that kilometer
I feel like it's a bad
distance,
idea, but
Sign me up for a space pilot.
right? That 1 kilometer distance, proximity that they had between the Barbacola and the Rossi when they were doing the towing maneuver. Ships never would get that close because that distance is so small at the speeds you're traveling. That's faster than the neurons would go from your eyes to your brain to your hand to tell you to move. And that's counting, that's assuming you move automatically as soon as your brain recognizes you need to change direction.
Well, and they acknowledge that in the books. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They definitely acknowledge that in the books.
And plus,
science speed's also relative. So remember that.
Speeds are
so if you're going 60,000, you're going 60,001. It's still relative.
Yes.
Yeah.
So always remember that.
Yeah.
So I do have a favorite scene that I didn't like.
Wait, have we skipped back to?
Well, we're still on favorite scenes or dialogues.
Oh, I thought we were on production still.
Well, I just wanted to bring this up, and maybe this is part of production too. The Rosie landing on the side of the ruin.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, we'll excuse them that.
I think everybody hated Rosie landings in general, so
I prefer the upright Rocinante landing over the book one. I really don't like it landing on its side. That bugs me.
Yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't have been practical for this show.
Well, it's designed to have its gravity along its keel, not the keel being perpendicular to gravity. So,
it makes more sense. It makes more sense landing on its ass where the thrusters are in the first place. Because, in all honesty, I really don't imagine attitude control thrusters, which is just a cold gas emission, being strong enough to do anything in a gravity well, as it's going to land. I really think I think James S.A. Corey, the two guys, rethought it when they did it on the show. And, the other part is it would have been impractical to have to rotate the Rossi set 90 degrees. I mean, the set's built in structure. I mean, they would have had to tear it apart and rotate it 90, and or build a brand new set for each room, each setting that they're in.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I don't like it landing on its belly. I just
So, yeah, I just had to bring that one up because that one was just too.
I think that was one of the weaker CG shots too.
Yeah.
Cat butt.
Oh yeah,
Grady,
there we go.
Grady. Always a hit when cats show up. I am curious when the first cat living in space will be, or living off planet will be.
Oh, they will.
Probably,
Well, and I guess this is getting a couple books ahead of time. This will have the same problem that, oh gosh, what's the girl's name? Her dog, who goes on to the Rocinante.
oh yeah, Duarte's daughter.
Duarte's daughter, Rosie. Is the dog? No, that's.
Yeah, the dog. I can't remember the dog's name, but yeah, I thought that was awesome that there's a dog.
Yeah, well, so like the dog was obviously like not having a great time all the time, like swimming, and they had to create like they even talked about the dog not being happy about having to go to a point to have his butt suctioned to like
right.
So, but
there are some difficulties of pets in 0G.
Yeah, definitely. and like, but they started really prototyping apparently on like with Duarte's daughter.
Right.
Animals.
I think there'll probably be cats on the moon before there are cats on Mars. That's for sure.
This kind of
probably cats on the moon before dogs.
That NASA apparently did research with cats on those planes where they nosedive for 0G.
Mm-hmm.
And there's videos online where like they're just chucking the cats back and forth between them. And the cats are trying to do like 0G because they can't land.
Right.
Oh, that's got to be really confusing for them. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. Yeah, apparently it's this whole study that they did.
I wouldn't put it past them. Yeah.
That sounds like
that's what they call. That's what they call the planes that do that. That's the nickname for them. Is the vomit comet.
Yeah, it is. But
if I didn't have such a fear of flying, I would love to go on one of those. But like the idea of being on a plane that's purposely diving repeatedly is just not up.
Like it sounds like it was to torture cats, but it was actually to test how astronauts could rate themselves when they're in 0G, when they're like twisting and turning. Because cats,
because cats have the crazy skills too.
Yep.
I'm just picturing a cat chasing a ping pong ball in space.
Insanity is what that'd be.
Yep.
Oh.
Why am I thinking of the movie The Marvels all of a sudden? Have you guys seen that movie?
No.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Is that the one with the 3 gals?
The 3
of
them.
Oh, in all the cats. Okay, yes.
I was kind of thinking about putting a catnip in Amos's drawers. Like not his underwear drawer, but his dresser drawer.
Oh, well, the other would be funny too.
I mean, depends. Are they strapped in?
Anyways.
Oh.
There we are. And there we go.
Flurkins,
yes.
Flurkins. 2 of us were trying to click it at once. I actually really like that movie. I don't care what people how the reviews went.
That movie. I do love that movie.
I am a big fan of the Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel part of the franchise. I really love Ms. Marvel, and I love the first Captain Marvel movie. So
agreed. This is why we're friends.
Those were a lot of fun.
Did we have any other scenes?
I love the line, "We're fighting, are we?"
Yeah.
From Murtry, that line is just great. But my favorite line in the entire episode is Avasarala leaving that note for Nancy Gao, and she says, "Well, we disagree. One of us is wrong. I think it's you, but I hope it's me."
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's some humility right there. I think while she's saying she thinks she's right, she's still also, showing, a totally different attitude and saying she hopes Nancy's right.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the future of Earth and, the United Nations. That's resting on how Nancy believes.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I had for that.
I had that too. Yeah.
That's the only notable quotable I had, so I can't add anything else.
I think it's funny that three of us had the same notable quotable. Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's a
I
classic.
mean, but like there weren't really a lot of standout lines from this episode, and that one was it. Like distinctively it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It is.
So, they've had so many episodes where there are multiple lines where you're like, oh gosh, this is a thing. But this just isn't one of those episodes where there's like a lot of stuff happened, but it wasn't quotable, I guess.
Right.
And so the singular one. So by our
Where's that bring us, Max?
lady Shorai.
Where does that bring us, Max?
Our next one was production. So it's scenes in production.
So I do have one.
Yes?
I love the graphic of the atomic seed dropping into the engine and
Into the
igniting
fusion.
it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Pellet. The fusion pellet. Yeah, that is.
And just like the singular pellet dropping in and just and like it's right at the beginning of the episode and it can be easily lost, but I loved seeing how it just like goes and perfuses through the engine and makes it
that's
work.
exactly how it's and how that engine works on the show is exactly how it's described in the book too by Alex.
Mm-hmm.
As he's explaining to Basha earlier in this book that it's by a bunch of lasers from different directions shooting in at the pellet, compressing it, igniting the fusion reaction.
And using the magnetic bubble to hold it in place for the laser.
And that is actually one of the methods that they are experimenting with in fusion research.
Yeah. Oh, so complete side note. Apparently George R. R. Martin has like stopped writing his books because he has written it's co-writing a physics thesis on how one of his different series and the physics that happened in his different series is applicable to real life. And
he co-authored a scientific paper describing the dynamics of the Wildcard series, which is a series that he created and edits. Basically, think people with superpowers. People have random superpowers, and that's what it is.
Yeah.
I haven't read any of it yet, but it's a shared universe.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I saw an article about that a couple weeks ago, too.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty interesting.
He's not continuing writing his books because
Well, he took the time off from writing his books to do that. Because I could go on for an hour on why I think Martin quit, hasn't put out this next book yet. That's discussion for another channel.
That's a discussion for another topic. But but yes, people who write about anyways physics and things like that. So.
On the production side, I mean, things look gorgeous, like the shot behind me that I use, but music being part of it, I almost rarely ever have anything to say about music, but The song Ashford's singing, they've called it the Ballad of Claes Ashford. It's really an adaptation of the Ballad of Captain Kidd, according to what I found in the research about it. But it's an actual song or a version of an actual song that he's singing.
Go down to the executioner's block.
Yep. And he's sung it throughout the show. He sang it in season 3, and he sang it earlier this season.
Was that the one that he was singing? Because that wasn't. Was it?
No, I thought it was a different song that he was singing to the child.
All right, might have been a different song to the child, but he sang it with Kamina last season. Or early this season. At some point, he sang it with Kamina Drummer.
When they were
trapped
smashed together.
They were trapped. Yeah. Okay. They sang it together. That would have been. That was what he was singing last season.
Was that season? That was season 3. Yes, that's right. That would have been.
That was the last
season 3. Second half of season 3.
Yeah.
Anything else on production, you guys?
I was just gonna toss in the the stealth tech they showed on the ship.
Yes.
That was sweet. Yes. The effect that they used.
Yeah. The overview we had of the planet. And then what that whole thing was.
Yes.
God.
Yeah.
That looked very cool.
I really had.
That looked very cool. She was that design. That actress was just killer throughout the entire series. The only thing I have is a sound thing. When the crystal dome was destroyed, the tinkling of the tinkling sound, and then the sound of the rest of the collapse sounded. I just thought, oh, that sounds so good.
Sound mixing.
And it was mixed in with what was happening well enough where it worked. So I just wanted to toss that one in.
Mm-hmm. If there's nothing else, our next one is best or worst actors.
Anybody want to start?
I'm going with one I normally don't go with.
Who's
Frankie
that?
Adams. Frankie.
Yeah.
I thought this was a really, really good episode for her.
She's my number one choice for this episode.
Okay. So
totally agree.
That's my number one. And I don't have anybody that I in my didn't like list.
I'll go with for like don't like is Amos's regrown finger. Was not
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be looking at that finger all the next season. Like, I don't believe that's real.
Well, but also it got regrown so quickly. Hypothetically, that would have taken, if you go by the books, months and months and months and months and months.
You should have a baby Deadpool
it was
finger.
long enough. It was long enough for Murphy's leg to heal.
And they did leave it red, but still it was.
They used that happened in the book too, didn't it? Didn't he lose a finger in the book and then he got it replaced and they had the joke line about I'm about to go try it out right now?
Yes, but and it took a much longer time.
Right.
So
everything does, It takes 18 months to get from Earth to Illis.
Were they at a dock when he went to try it out though?
No, in the book, I think he's going back to his room to try it out. But on the show, it seems like he's going to go try it out on Murtry with a fist, not on himself as a fist.
Yeah, he's not fisting himself, so.
It was on his left hand.
I thought he was going to try the Ultimate Stranger. Virgin hand.
Well, it was on his left hand, too, so that may not be the one he wants to deliver a right cross with.
I will say that because I did note that it seemed very quick. They're like, oh yeah, your hand is healed all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's his right hand. I'm looking at a picture at him looking at it.
Yes,
it's his right hand.
And because they talked about the regrowth while he was down in Illis, and then they're up in the Rocinante. And he's got his fingers back, and they do make a comment about it. and they are red. And then he goes in to talk with Fuckface, and
Mercury.
and his fingers are actually like when Amos folds his hand, like they're very red, like they're like newly grown, like raw skin. So like it's very clear that it is newly regrown. It just seemed very quick to me. Like and again, like I think we assume
A lot of time happens. A lot of time passes.
We assume days, where maybe it's like weeks or months.
Like I said, there was a lot of time that passed from the time Ashford's killed to the time they launched that, because Marco has an entire new crew that Ashford had just wasted his previous crew. And then literally the next scene, Inaros is launching that rock with a full crew.
Yeah.
So a lot of time passed there. I'm assuming a lot of time passed elsewhere in the episode too.
And we're just not good at like time dilation in our heads.
Yeah, because the show doesn't want to give us.
I'm not.
Yeah, so. The show doesn't want to give us time passing. You know, some shows do it, some shows don't. Well, if I was running this show, I would have had a time stamp. Maybe not a literal time stamp.
Yeah,
I would have had a date.
2 weeks.
July 3rd. 2 weeks later, 6 months later.
At least Matt says I've been on a boat for a whole month. So we get an idea of how long it took them to get from Falm to Tarvalon.
Yes, exactly. Some sort of gauge about the time frame.
And in the second season of The Wheel of Time, they even said 1 month later.
6 months.
First season.
6 months.
No, in season 1 they did a 1 month jump, and it's episode 6.
Season 1 to season 2 was a 6 month. Oh well, depends on what time we're talking about. There are so many time jumps.
No, there are. No.
My favorite time jump ever on a TV show is Battlestar Galactica, when Baltar takes over as president, and he drops his head onto the desk. The camera zooms in and then zooms out. 1 year later, and his office is entirely different, and he's in an entirely different outfit. And it's just that's my favorite time jump in the show. Just the way they did it.
That's a good one.
And one of my all-time favorite TV shows.
So yes.
So does anyone else have any for best actors, or are we ready for the final question of the night?
Well, I haven't given mine yet.
Okay.
But I'll let Leigh-A go because I don't think she gave one yet either.
I haven't. I was going to say Bobby, but that already got taken. So my second one is Aventurella, because she goes through a lot of emotions, but I also love her conversation with her husband. She's trying so hard, like, let's get back to where we were. Like, we're not just where we were, but like, let's just be the people that we are. And he's like, nope. And then you see that directly influence her message. I was going to say speech, but message.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I thought the way her husband looked so embarrassed about having to say no I thought he did a great little delivery there on just.
Michael Banyard was good again. He's not on my list this time, but he was good again.
Yeah.
He was a really good choice to play Arjun when they weren't able to get is it Howard George or George Howard? Something like that back. The guy who played him in the first couple seasons. I too went with Frankie Adams as Bobby for my number one choice, but I wanted to give some props to a guest actor who did one role in one episode, and it's the Joe Ronsetti who played Aram Lee, who was the Martian prisoner on the Tynan, the one that had his tooth pulled out. I enjoyed the scene with him. I thought he did a great job, for a piece of shit that his character was. I thought, Run Steady was pretty good in the role. But my number 2, right behind Bobby, is her partner in most of her scenes, Dale McLeod, who plays Leigh-A. I thought, I thought, that was one of McLeod's better performances. Just the work she did in that one scene in the club where she's talking with Bobby, I thought was just really good. I liked it. Those are my 2.
They've got a great synergy together.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Agreed.
Where are we at, Max?
Themes. Glenn's favorite question.
Themes. Apparently, yeah. I didn't know this. You've informed me of that a few times now.
It is your favorite, Glenn?
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but Max says it is, so it must be.
Oh, okay. Well, you want to hear my theme?
Whoa.
Yeah, what'd you find?
Nothing.
All right. I kind of had a hard time with it too, and I had to do a lot of thinking about it, but I'd like to hear what Leigh-A's got.
Oh, yeah.
No, you go ahead.
No, you're the guest. You
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
That way we get to interrupt your drink.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep drinking then.
Well, usually we have
Well,
Glenn go last.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah. Usually I go last because I want to make sure I don't steal anyways, because I usually end up finding a whole bunch, like a bullet point list.
So, I think a lot of this is finding the humanity in whatever the situation is. So, like just throughout all of the microcosms that we've dealt with. So Bobby and what's her face? Because I'm not great.
Leigh-A.
Lily, like Bobby finding the humanity with Leigh-A, and then like saving her, and then like Holden finding humanity. Like Holden always finds fucking humanity, so that's kind of like an easy, like that's a soft pitch.
Yeah.
There is Avancerala finding humanity with both her husband and her opponent, and so yeah, it's just all across the board. Just there's a lot of chaos that happens, but in spite of chaos, finding humanity.
Mm-hmm.
What you meant, Max?
I figure this is one that Glenn's probably got to touch on, since we've kind of mentioned it several times throughout this episode, but doors and corners.
I didn't go there.
Exactly. We have it mentioned throughout the series as a whole. This is the final episode with Miller. And we have, obviously, doors and corners with Bobby. We have somewhat with Alice Laura in some ways politically.
Yeah. Got it with Ashford.
We have it definitely with Ashford, because he didn't check the doors and corners when he got caught.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
that's good.
When
I like that.
when Holden is talking about Miller's goodbye, he references humanity going through the doors and not necessarily checking the corners.
Yeah, Miller's been saying that for a while.
I'll have to look at that again. Okay, very nice.
That's interesting.
Because he basically said that Miller was worried about humanity charging through the doors. So it's implied them not checking the corners.
Mm-hmm.
He even uses that analogy in the book, I think, bitching at Holden about everybody going into the ring space.
Yep.
I had to do a lot of thinking, and part of what helped me figure out stuff is remembering.
Mitch hasn't gone.
He did.
Oh, no,
he had nothing.
I'm themeless.
You're
themeless.
You're actually 100% themeless.
I am themeless in Oregon. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what makes you themeless besides just?
I don't pick up on the nuances of things like this. I guess it's one of my shortcomings. I don't.
This one was a particularly hard
like
episode, though.
Yeah, I don't think of things. I mean, I can see something over the course of maybe the entire season, but trying to narrow something down within a particular episode, The writer may have had some theme that they wanted to express. Otherwise, we're just pulling it out of our derrieres.
Hey, it's
That's
basically-
that's me.
I know what we're doing.
One of the major themes over the overall book series is redemption arcs. You know, redemptions of characters. And I'm not going to go into spoilers on all characters, but I could sit here and probably list a couple dozen characters that go through a redemption arc in one way or another in the books. Excuse me. And in this episode, we're seeing the conclusion of Ashford's redemption. You know, he started out in the show a lot more like Book Ashford back in season at the beginning of in the middle of season 3 when he was introduced. He was a lot more like Book Ashford, but he's changed. You know, he's changed. He's gone away from the violence. He's made this turn towards being a peaceful person, not a pacifist, but believing in the cause of peace. Even though that storyline on the show is not from the book, it's still carrying that, you know, that storyline in, you know, that theme.
Well, he had a cathartic moment there at the end of the previous season.
Yep.
You know, when, you know, and he even fesses up to it earlier in this season, you know, saying, you know, we all not make mistakes, but we all see something
right
other than what is real, or
which
I
makes
forget.
his death so sad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you go from like being he's like a fucking douchebag to no, actually it's kind of cool to
being one of my favorite characters on the show.
Deeply, yes.
And he made some really good arguments with his crew.
Glenn, are you saying the same thing? Are you saying the same thing could be happening with Leigh-A? She goes from being
she's on there. She's in there.
Okay.
Oh no, she's not. Don't put her on the same level.
Not so much her. Not on the same level
as Ashford.
No, I'm not saying that at all. But before we get to Leigh-A, which was actually more of a Leigh-A and a Bobby thing, is Lucia. She mirrors Basha's redemption arc from the book.
Right.
So we've got redemption there with another character, you know, both, you know, having redemption and also getting forgiveness from her daughter. You know, her daughter was really mad. You know, and even Holden's actions towards her are a form of forgiveness. You know, so we've seen this redemption of Lucia. Related in a way to redemption is the peace that's made between Bobby and Leigh-A. They started out very antagonistic with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing we see is Bobby giving her a nice comforting squeeze on the shoulder and telling her, you need to go, you know, for your safety, get out of here, go take care, you know, go be safe. That plays into the same idea, I think.
Mm-hmm.
In counterpoint to that, we see Arjun being upset despite his denial at being angry at her, at Christian. And also, there's a counterpoint. We have the very obviously no redemption and forgiveness given between Murtry and Amos.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we have we have some examples that we also have a counterpoint to it.
Yeah.
The other sort of theme I found is there's a lot of last words to people, or potentially last words in some cases. Holden giving his last thoughts and words to Miller stood out. Thelcia had that with her parents as they were saying goodbye. Christian, I mean, we all quoted, you know, Christian's letter to Nancy Gow. It's not really a goodbye, except in like the official sense. Here's my last thing to you.
I think it's you.
As president, as secretary general. Yeah. Arjun giving a kind of a last goodbye, spoiler for next season, to his wife. And I already mentioned Bobby, the way she clutched Leigh-A's shoulder when they parted.
Yeah.
And the other big, very, very much there at the end of this episode, last words, you know, goodbyes, though not peaceable, it was Marco Inaros and Clace Ashford. Last words to each other. I mean, it was there everywhere. When I sat back and thought about it more, I'm like, yeah, it's there everywhere. Last words to people.
Yeah,
Some form of a goodbye.
Yeah, those are last words. That's not a goodbye. It's not a farewell. It's a get lost.
It's still last words. It falls into the same general category.
Yeah,
that's like I said, I had to think about it and maybe even do some stretching, a little bit, to get things to fit.
But Ashford Ashford knew those were the last things he was going to say.
Yeah.
Didn't he give
the last words he was saying to him?
Didn't Ashford give him the finger on the way out?
He gave him a double.
Yeah.
The British.
Yeah.
Oh, is that British?
I don't know.
The backwards thing. This way is okay, but this is an insult. This way is an insult.
I never knew. Wow.
Something. So
it's like doing this. This is not a problem to somebody, but if you flip it and point it at them, that's a problem. Yeah, fuck you.
That's a fighting finger.
Yeah. You want 3 of them? Flip you off 3 ways.
Yeah, he definitely got the last word in a couple different ways.
So many ways.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. You had brought up, Ava, Sarala, and Arjun. Do you think Arjun is overreacting? Is he justified? Is he, perhaps not being as cruel as he could be? Where do you think he might be in that
I think he overreacted a bit.
Personally. I don't think he did at all. He was very supportive, and I think when she made that speech, and this is the
eulogy.
Yes,
right. Eulogy. When she made that, it was a speech. It wasn't a eulogy. A speech about the Martians who had been killed and made public, and that was a breaking point for them. So, he had been all about her political career up until that point, and that was the breaking point, and he had been separating himself from her since then. All right, no, I'm whatever. And now that she was done, now she's like, okay, now we have time for each other. And he's like, bitch, we could have done this beforehand. And we could have made time for each other beforehand, but now that you've lost, now that you've got time, it's almost an exasperation. So I think that if she had won, would have been better for their status quo, because they could have just continued on with what they were doing.
Right.
But now she had this vision of what they were going to do, and he's like, that vision doesn't exist.
Okay. So it's not a matter of retribution?
It was not retribution. It's just this is not our reality.
Okay.
Our reality was you being a perpetual politician and continuing on. And and that was how our relationship was going to succeed. And now that we're here, it's not going to succeed because I had to pretend to support you, and I had to pretend to do all this sort of stuff. But now that we have to have a relationship, we don't have a relationship.
Okay.
I think I think Arjun is just constitutionally not equipped to be in a relationship with someone who is actually running for office.
I think he was. Because he was doing it. He was supporting her.
He was, but I don't think it was good for him. I mean, you see how devastated he is emotionally by the campaign and the things she said and the way he interpreted her motivations behind what she said.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that he was supportive, but it destroyed him emotionally, which is why I say he's just not equipped to handle it. You know, if he was equipped, I don't think it would have destroyed him, it emotionally ruined him as much as it so obviously did.
I'm curious how common that might be with the spouses of political people in the U.S., worldwide. It doesn't matter. I'm just
I
curious
think
if you could
I
get
think he
all
was
of them.
fine when she was not running for office. But when she was
Well, because
holding office,
she was
he was
just
okay with it,
she was just a civil servant for the longest time,
with a lot of power.
and then she was the person in charge, and because shit happened, and he was okay with that. And then she started running for office, and he was there. He was like, I am your campaign, like, I want to be your campaign manager. I want to da da da. And she, for a little while, was okay with it. But then she just started being like, go fuck yourself. Because she's Mozzarella and she's abrupt. And this is fine. You don't mix work life and personal life, because you're just like, I'm like, no, seriously. If I'm the person that's gonna go tell you to go fuck yourself, if you're somebody who works for me, like, you need to be okay with that. Like, and if you're somebody who works for me, if you're my spouse and I tell you to go fuck yourself, you need to be okay with that. And obviously he was not, like, and he was so supportive. Like, he was writing poems for her, like, writing all this sort of stuff. Like, loved her so much, because he was like, and that was like, he was a professor of poetry and ancient arts, and like, and
He was
that's
a
what he always,
sensitive man.
yeah, and he
Arjun was a
always
very
like,
sensitive
yeah,
man.
but also intuitive, and like knew, like, and wanted to help, but also just
I
like,
hesitate
but
to
also
try to say it's
just
possible to
like,
be too sensitive, but I think he
she
was.
should have told him, you should not be part of my staff, and also he should have, like, I mean, he wanted to help again. It's that double fucking edged
Yeah.
sword.
You know, it's
I-
funny
I-
when you brought up the mixing work and personal together. The first thing that popped into my mind was Nynaeve and Lan. Once they get together, who's in
But
charge when?
oh, but so Nynaeve and Leah, not to do like too much spoilers for a little time, that is dictated by their marriage contract under the Sea Folk.
Yeah.
So
True.
there is a
Yep.
person who is in charge in this certain circumstance, and there's a person who's in charge in this certain circumstance. So, and it is very clear. And like, I actually think that if you honestly evaluate your relationships, you can see, like, oh, I in this particular circumstance, I am the person in charge.
I gotta say, I think overall this whole season, Michael Pena was great. As you know, I listed him as my number one, or one of my actors in several episodes this season. So I think he was a great addition to this season. It's a shame the previous actor, guy who played Arjun this season.
Oh yes.
Yeah. We weren't able to get the actor who had played him in the previous seasons, you know, because they weren't sure if the Expanse was going to get renewed, and so he had already signed a contract to do something else by the time season 4 got, greenlit.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions? Anything else anybody wants to bring up?
I am replete.
I think I am too. Oh, Matt's not.
Hold on. I mean,
Matt's not. Matt has a point. Matt Stagger has a very definite point.
I pop
Wonder if
that
that
up
will
again.
hold up with-
I missed it. She's bedroom.
Talking about
Boston,
Avasarala.
Oh,
Yeah. I wonder if the same will be true of Elida. You. Just the idea of Elida in the bedroom.
Oh.
You. Never mind.
all right. So getting off topic real quick, on a scale of 1 to 10, episode 1, season 3 of Wheel of Time. Just
That?
toss a number
I'll
out.
go 2. I'll say, I said what I said yesterday at Puppets, 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
8.5 out of 10. It might actually have displaced my previous favorite episode of the show so far. And there's not really any changes in the episode that I have issue with.
Well, I'm giving it a 42.
All right. That works. What'd you say? What would you give it, Leigh-A?
I liked it a lot. I'm not gonna do a comparison because like that's too much thinking, but I liked it a lot. I do want to go back and rewatch it a couple times because I'm sure I missed a whole bunch of shit. But also, I am part of a Wheel of Time fantasy league that is on the Black Tower podcast channel, where we've chosen characters like fantasy league style. Yeah, so like I do have a little bit of skin in the game on this one. Of course, through Full Talk, we've chosen all IEL characters.
Oh, of course.
Shocker, right?
Is it just me? Does anybody else have a crush on Shiad yet? I'm like totally just like, wow.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Chiad is the one who wins.
I mean,
right?
Avienda is cute, but Chiad is just.
Wait, so was Chiad the one that?
She's the shorter one.
No, but that did the thing with Matt. So
is she the one that winked?
Yes,
the question.
Yeah, she,
okay. All right.
Just like the
She's
books,
the
I
one
can never
that-
tell which one's which.
Hey,
Right, in the books,
I
I
go
don't-
where she goes. What can I say?
right. Oh my gosh. Oh, I loved how I don't know how much we could spoil.
We'll be talking about it soon, and I'll make sure you're on as a guest.
Actually, I don't.
Talking about that.
Oh, this drops before season 3 starts, doesn't it? Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This will be this is out right now. They're watching live right now. Next week, when we come back, we will be discussing at least the first 2 episodes of Wheel of Time season 3, maybe 3, depending on how the story arc goes over those 3 episodes. We'll be pushing episode 3 back to the week after, and we'll discuss it with episode 4 if we don't do it next week. Idea I stole from Twatcast. Thank you guys. Thank you, Joe. Leigh-A, thank you for coming on and helping us wrap up this season. It's always good to have you.
Glad.
Mitch, as always, I love having you on to discuss The Expanse. Look forward to having you on for more to discuss. You've got a lot to say. You are pretty good at finding themes when you let yourself. You've done it a few times, so have more faith in yourself on that. Max, thanks for helping. I tell people if Max had said no when I asked him to do a show with me, this show would never have happened. So it's Max's fault.
Yeah.
Blame Max.
You're welcome.
All right.
Thank you, Max.
Fair enough.
Thank you guys at home for watching. Come back next week and don't forget to be awesome.